Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch with me, Rob Plumbridge, and regular crew of Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount. It's Sprint Cup Saturday at Haydock, and we've got racing from Ascot and Kempton as well to get stuck into. Before we begin, a couple of winners from last week. Tis Marvellous won back-to-back Beverly Bullets at 100 to 30 for Andrew and myself, and Who You Mile Obliged at very prohibitive odds of 7 to 2 on for Andrew and Daryl. So moving on to this week, we've got 9 live races from ITV. We begin with the Ascendant Stakes. It's a listed race. Naval Power is an unbeaten favourite, odds on shot. We'll cross first to Daryl Carter. Can he be beat?
I don't know. I've been trying to get him beat, but he looks pretty solid. Albeit this will be the first time he goes round a bend. I think, if I'm right in saying that. So I don't know. For a starter, I don't think he's worthy of a rating of 111. So if anyone's looking at this and going, "Oh, they've got like 10, 20 pounds behind," I would write that off. I would probably have him about 103 in my book. So some of them have not got as much to find as it might look. But I really am struggling to try and get him beat. I thought Seeking Gold was the right second fav. I thought Captain Winters was interesting at a big price of 18 to 1. I like the way he battled back last time, albeit he didn't really beat much at third, but that was his first attempt on a fast surface, and he looked like he handled it really well. He's probably going to pop out and make the running from stall 1, and Connections did win this last year with Triple Time, who runs later on the same card. I think he's interested, but I think he might be interested in a without favourite bet, Captain Winters, but yeah, I think Naval Power is the most likely winner. The time figure of his Ascot run last time was only a fraction slower than than Fresh, who won on the same card. So in that big handicap, so he looks pretty solid to me. But in the without market, Captain Winters, I think I'll have a bet on.
Captain Winters in the without market. Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, I'm interested in Captain Winters because he's trained by Kevin Ryan and he's the son of Lope de Vega, and he's done brilliantly with this sire over the years. You look at the sort of roll of honour of Kevin Ryan, Lope de Vega horses like Mount Tahan, 6 wins, Flaming Spear, Ayuthea, Weekend Offender, all won 4 times, Ralston Scar won 3 times. They tend not to come to hand until they're 3, though. But Captain Winters did the business, albeit narrowly, last time out. I think that was at Thurs, because I thought he was of interest. The other one as well that I think is a bit underrated in the market is Dancing Magic for Roger Teal. And you look at the form of that Newbury second to Taji last time out. Now, the winner hasn't come out and run sits, but the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 8th have all won sits. You know, the 7th has come out and run second on a couple of occasions. I think that form is really strong, and I think because he hasn't got a 1 next to his name, that might be sort of the reason why he's a double-figure price here. So, I mean, Naval Power has got to concede weight to all his rivals, albeit only £3. And I just thought sort of maybe split stakes between Captain Winters, Dancing Magic, or have a bit of a sort of fanciful place pot and leave the jolly out, and who knows, you might be onto a winner.
Lovely. So a couple of potential opportunities to take on the odds-on favourite Naval Power. We cross now to the 145. This is the Superior Mile Stakes. We've got another hot favourite in Reach for the Moon, but I sense that potentially this is one that we might be a bit more keen to take on. Daryl, I know you're keen to potentially take on Reach for the Moon, Queen's horse.
Yeah, I'm just not a massive fan of him. I just don't understand why the bookmakers are so keen to put him in really short at the top of every market that he seems to run in. He's been favourite for his last 5 starts, and he's won once, and that was against Great Max at Sandown, who, you know, the form of that race is nothing in comparison to this. So I just think he's always just underpriced, and I don't know why. The fact that he's getting a visor for the first time as well, I don't really believe backing a short price horse at the top of the market is getting a visor for the first time. I don't know. Maybe he didn't stay at Ascot last time behind Claymore, but again, he would need to improve on that. At Sandown the time before, he was comprehensively beaten by My Prospero. I just thought he's one to take on, but what with Triple Time is probably one of the most interesting horses in the field, but he's returning from 364 days off. Now, if the market does speak strongly in his favour, then he's probably going to go close here. He's probably going to try and make the run-in, and that's been a useful tactic in this race in the past. The one I'm going to side with, though, is the outsider of the entire field, is Perotto. I like this horse. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I just think he's underestimated. His run at Thirsk last time in a 3-runner race behind Fire the Sound. That form ties in with Al Flavey at the time before. And if you go through every piece of form in this race, they're very, very tightly matched. He's a 25-1 shot. He was probably not suited by the slow pace at Thirsk. He's back up to a mile today. The time before, he's beaten 6 lengths by Chindit. They tried the cheek pieces, tongue-tie cheek piece combination. I didn't think it worked. I thought he was too keen. The time before at Windsor, I thought he ran an absolute belter behind My Oberon, who's rated 113 or 110. Modern News was in second. I think that's rock solid mid-100s form. So I don't understand why he's a 25-1 shot in this race. Now, he hasn't won since he won the Britannia at Ascot last year, but he's been given some real stiff tasks. I think he sets the standard on the form with his Sovereign Stakes third behind Sabuska and McAllen. I just think it's rock solid form, and I think you're expecting Reach for the Moon to take some big step forward for a fit and reviser. I can't see it myself. Bayside Boy has become very, very frustrating. We've been on it the last couple of times. Yeah. He gets the blinkers for the first time, which is strange. He also gets the added bonus of William Buick, who's flying at the moment. I didn't think Dark Shift would be up to the level, to be honest. And yeah, I don't understand why you can get 25-1 on Parade. So it'll do for me.
That's a big price. Andrew, what have you got to add to that?
I thought the favourite was a good thing to win the award for the most overrated horse in training award 2022. I took him on at Royal Ascot with Claymore that day, and that proved the right thing to do. And he's priced up on who trains, who rides, who owns, and the sort of the media almost wanting the Queen to have a good horse, and every time one shows a fair level of ability, then they rush to say this is the next sort of champion. There'll be a Group 1 winner, but I just don't think he's. I mean, he's drifted from 11-8 on to 5-4 against. I still think he's underpriced. Bayside Boy's been difficult to win with, as Daryl says. He's too's got the blinkers on. I thought Dark Shift had a fantastic chance. I couldn't believe he was 6-1. You see these prices sometimes after the final field declared. You click on it thinking, oh, that 6-1 must have been the anti-post price, and now they've the field whittled down. It's going to be 3-1 or thereabouts, and you're thinking 6-1. This horse is 3 from 3 over a mile or further. He ran an absolute blinder in the International Stakes at Ascot last time, dropping to 7 furlongs, didn't suit. He's done best of the prominent races in finishing third. I mean, Lion Tower was back in 9th. That was third best of those were up with the pace. That one came and won next time out. I know you're going from handicap to group company, but it's not like you're trying to make the leap from handicap to Group 1 or anything like that. And for me, he's won 50% of his career starts. I think he's got a fantastic chance. He can't be 6-1. He's got to be 7-2 max come Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've taken a lot of the words out of my mouth there, because I was going to put Dark Shift as well. For all the reasons you outlined above, I thought the most striking one was 1 all his starts at a mile. And also, I think there's a little bit of rain forecast, I think, for Haydock coming in the morning. So we know what Haydock's like. It takes up rain like an absolute sponge. So I think he'll deal with that a little bit better than some of the others. So yeah, Dark Shift for me as well. Also adds to that, there's not been a winning favourite in this for the past 6 renewals. That goes against the hot favourite. So all of us taking on the favourite in that race. We move now to the September Stakes, and we go back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, I wasn't massively keen on the race as a whole. Dubai Honour switching to the all-weather for the first time, coming back in grade, having contested a Group 1, the Jumpmont behind Baid last time out. Actually, I bet him without the favourite. I bet 2 without the favourite in the exacta that day. This one and Sabuska as well. They finished 3rd and 4th, and sadly the hard to win with in Britain Mishriff turned out to be much better than that pair. But I had a bit of a thrill for a while. I thought he was probably the most interesting one, but he's priced accordingly 6-4, and he's never raced on the surface. So I'll go with the Jolly, but yeah, it's not a race I'm getting financially involved in.
Okay, Dubai Honour, but no bet for Andrew. Daryl, how about you? You with or against Dubai Honour?
Very much with him. I thought it was a slowly run race that undone him against Sabuska at York at his penultimate start, but he had no real excuses in the judgment, but this is much calmer waters. I understand it's his first start on the all-weather, but William Haggas did have last year's winners. Hamish entered up for this. He could have gone that way. He didn't. He decided to stick to Dubai Honour in here, which says to me that I think he knows Dubai Honour is more than capable of winning this. Yeah, I mean, I think he should be shorter really than 6-4. This is a big drop in grade to what he's been used to.
Yeah.
He's contested Group 1s in 3 of his last 4 starts, or 4 of his last 5 starts, down into a Group 3 today. It's interesting that Jim Crowley, well, it's not interesting. Jim Crowley's at Haydock to ride Minzal. But Mostadaf has been off 58 days since disappointing at Newmarket, where he stopped very quickly, and Dane O'Neill was on board. I just thought it was interesting. Maybe this is just sort of a race to try and get him back on track. I think the Barley should be short, and I'm with him. But again, I don't know if I'm going to be backing him, if that makes sense. I can't work out.
Well, if you think he should be shorter, you've got to.
Yeah, I was just going to say I can't work out how much shorter I think he should be than the 6-4.
You're going to back him, but you don't know whether it's pennies or.
Yeah, that's my issue with it. Yeah.
Okay, so both with the Champions Day second from last year, which moves swiftly on to the 220 at Haydock. It's the Get Daily Rewards with Betfair Handicap. It's Class 2 for 3-year-olds. Let's stick with you, Daryl.
Yeah, I made a right mess of this midweek. I thought Soulcombe was almost certainly going to run in this instead of the old Borough Cup, for which William Haggas never had a runner in the old Borough Cup, well, not in the last 10 years anyway, and he's been well represented in this race. This is a good race. I'm surprised Thundering is as big as 10-1 after his run last time behind Farhan at York. Very few horses the entire week came from off the pace, and he steamed home. I think there's a win in him off this mark. That was a career best time figure, career best RPR rating. He could have more to come. So I'm going to have a couple of quid on him. But I am forced, and I need to apologise actually to people for last week, because the Nap post-impressionist is back in here today, and I am forced to back him. Now, last week, I was disappointed in myself a little bit after the race, because I kind of knew Beverley wasn't the track for him. Chester certainly wasn't the track for him the time before that. Beverley, I thought he might get away with it, but he just was outpaced. And I just made a note and said, right, don't touch this horse until he runs over 1.6 miles, send him right up in trip, and he's got a nice long home straight to run out. What happens? He turns up here 7 days later in this particular race. So I'm going to have to back him, because these are the components that I think that he's needed. You've got nearly a 4 furlong home straight here at Haydock. He is drawn wide as a ball and still 16. But I just think he's a very strong stayer, and I think that's what you're going to need in this particular race. Just one more to touch on. Zane Noitz is the outsider of the entire field here, 33-1, right? But he's got a jockey booking of William Buick. He's got a 43% strike rate at Haydock this year.
Wow.
And it's not often that you see a 33-1 shot on with William Buick on, or one that's ran an RPR £9 in excess of his current rating of 88. He ran over 2 miles at Lingfield last time, first attempt at that sort of distance, and he ran on strongly at the finish. Coming back and trip could just suit him. I thought he was a bit better than the bare result at Goodwood the time before behind Secret State, where he was drawn in stall 12, he was pushed up wide on the outside, and he was just prominent the whole way, and he just kind of got outpaced on the downhill part of the track. I didn't think it suited him. I think coming back to a flat track might suit him. So I'll have a tentative couple of quid each way at saying Knights. Post-impressionist is the main bet, and I'm going to have to throw a couple of quid at Thundering. So it's going to be an expensive day, Rob.
Right. One of them's got to win. But a bit of loyalty, I like that, Daryl. How about you, Andrew? Who are you going for in this?
Yeah, very tricky. I thought Adjuvant's one of 2 I bet in that York race last time behind Soulcombe, although, put in its place by that one, it was still a good effort. Finished third at 25-1. Could run a good race again. The one I'm going to go for, though, is Spaycaster for Holly Doyle and Rafe Beckett. The blinkers go on for the first time. Could perhaps do with a bit of cut in the ground, but you go back to the 2016 when Beckett puts blinkers on one for the first time, 20 winners from 90 runners, and a profit of over 80 quid to a £1 level stake. So, tactically versatile, I think, and Spaycaster could go well. Run about 11-1, has been nibbled at since the prices came out.
Lovely stuff. Okay, to do the magic for Andrew. That takes us down to Kempton for the London Mile Series final handicap. This is wide open. I'm going to toss it to you again, Andrew.
Yeah, this is a fascinating race, because regardless of how you think the draw is going at Kempton during the season. When you get to the London Mile final, it's amazing how many high drawn horses have won or run well in defeat. And you look at this, we've had 34 horses drawn 6 or higher. Sorry, drawn 12 or higher. 6 winners out of those 34 runners, profit of £66.50 to a £1 level stake. So you'll get people. I mean, at the moment, Kempton is favouring middle draws. Still 6, 7, and 8 have got a fantastic record over sort of 5 furlongs to 10 furlongs. That inside rail is not particularly good at the moment. It's probably riding a little bit deep. And I've just played the draw here. I've bet 3 horses drawn 12, 13, and 14. They are Morgan Ferry, who I put up when landing a punt at Newbury a few runs ago, and will appreciate this bigger field and stronger pace. Cabinet Maker, who's bidding to make it 4 from his last 5, and Too Tempting, who I thought was particularly interesting, around about 25 to 1. So yeah, just going with the draw, the 3 highest drawn for me.
Lovely. Daryl, how did you see this?
No real strong opinion, to be honest. I put first view up at in the John Smiths when he was drawn still 22, and he raced wide for a long way, was prominent, and he stuck in there for a good while at the finish. I just didn't think he saw the trip out, really. I thought there were stronger stayers over 10 furlongs than him, and coming back in trip, first time cheek pieces back at Kempton where he's 2 for 2. I can see why he's at the top of the market. So I'm probably not going to get involved, but first view would be the preference if you wanted a selection.
Lovely stuff. First view for you. I'll have a tentative poke at Fantasy Believer, course and distance winner. I backed him at Goodwood last time. Never ever put in the race. I think it was Tom Marker on that day. Really, really disappointing. But the 2 races before that was really impressed, and I'll have a poke at him at each way prices at around 16 to 1. Now we go to Haydock. It's the Betfair Exchange Old Borough Cup. And Daryl's good friend Soulcombe, who was napped by him at York and won so impressively, is back again. Daryl, are you sticking with Soulcombe?
I am sticking with Soulcombe, yeah. I don't want him to get too short. I'm going to have to wait. He's 5 to 2 at the moment. I'm going to have to kind of wait and hope that he drifts out a little tiny bit, I think. Look, he's a horse that I mentioned last week, saying that I've been waiting for him to go up to a mile 6. And he duly obliged last week. It was a very fast run race. He was actually, I think he was 8 lengths faster than the Ebor, and he was eased down at the finish. And the finishing effort from him as well was actually just a tiny fraction slower than Trawlman. But given the pace of the race, it was a very, very big performance. I definitely thought he was going to go in the Daily Rewards race, but they've come in here, and I can sort of see why. Because if you look at the weight he's carrying in this race, 8 stone 9, it's only £5 higher than what he was carrying last week at York.
Yeah.
I think he's got a big chance. He's a horse that's definitely got more to come. The way he siphoned through that field 14 days ago, and then one going away, was in the style of a group horse in a handicap, as we always say.
Yeah.
I do think he's got a big chance in this, providing he gets the splits. This track, again, like York, is absolutely perfect, and he's already bolted up here. I think there's lots to like about him going forward. I can see him progressing, and we just don't know his ceiling. I mean, there's lots of other horses to like in here, the likes of Yakel Glen. Contact is a nice horse, but we know all we need to know really about those type of horses. I think if things go the way they should go, I think Soulcombe runs out a good winner of this.
Yeah. Can't disagree with that. He'll also be my selection in the race, but I won't go into why, because you put it better than I ever could. But yeah, Soulcombe for me, I think he wins this. I think his ceiling is much higher than we've seen. But Andrew, do you have a different opinion?
No, it's one of those ones where you think, can I pick holes in Soulcombe's form? And you think, not really. And then you think, yeah, he's got the potential to start even shorter than his current 5 to 2. Contact I'll be less keen on, because I think he needs a smaller field. He does seem to get trouble in running as soon as you go into sort of fields of 12 or more runners. So he's probably going to be the hard luck story of the race yet again. You've got plenty of horses here who've run in the race before. Island Brave, of course, won it last year. Yakel Glen and Dark Jedi was sort of 1-2 the year before. But the one Ian Williams has got a good record in the race as well. He's got a few in there. Halifon's been nibbled out as well since the final declarations were revealed. The one I'm going to go for is Charging Thunder for David O'Mara. Now, he was very disappointing at the Ebor meeting, finishing 10th of the 16 runners. He was only a 9-1 shot. He had Ryan Moore up. He was, although he did race prominently when you look at that, and the first 4 all came from midfield or further back. But I think the key to him is that he probably just doesn't like York. Now, you look at his runs at York and what happened the next time. His first run at this track, he was 15th of 22. So next time out, he's finished second by a neck. He's returned to York, finished 12th of 13, beaten 60 lengths. He was a big price, but getting beaten 60 lengths in a flat race takes some doing. Next time out, he's finished second by half a length. He's then come to York again and run a lot better. This was in May, he finished second, but then he won by 3.5 lengths on his next start. That was at Pontefract. So, and then he's come back to York after that Pontefract run. He's 100 to 30. He's only finished 5th of 8 runners, beaten 8 lengths. What's he done next time? He's gone to Ayr and he's won. So every time he's run at York, he's got beat. Every time he's switched to another track next time out, he's finished first or a close second. So if you just rule out that last run to say he doesn't like York, then switching to Haydock could suggest that he's overpriced at 20-1. So I'll go Charging Thunder in an open race.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob. We should just give UK Glen a mention. If you're looking for an solid each way bet.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get 5 and 6 places, I suspect, with some of the bookmakers here. UK Glen's is surely a good each way bet, 8-1, isn't it?
Yeah, no, couldn't disagree with that. I like the Charging Thunder stuff because I really believe that a lot of horses don't like York, and someone should probably call David Amir and tell him to stop bloody sending him there.
Yeah, I mean, often it's to do with the owners and the social thing.
Yeah,
it's a bit like Ascot as well. I mean, there's plenty of horses who just don't like Ascot, and you think, what? It's like Udalali, when I tipped up, he didn't seem to like Goodwood last week, but he's another one. Every time he's run at Ascot, he's run a shocker, but he's possibly been a social runner because they want one there at the Royal Meeting, for example. But yeah, he's 20-1 with William Hill. 16s generally worth taking a chance. I think that he'll run a big race.
Lovely stuff. And speaking of Ascot, that's where we're heading next. Thanks for the segue, Andrew.
No extra charge.
It's the National Racehorse Week Handicap. It's 3:10 at Ascot. Another really open-looking contest. Daryl, how do you see this?
I like Shining Blue. He's drawn stall 16 of 17, which I'm hoping is going to be a big positive. I like the drop back in trip for him back to 7 furlongs. This is a horse that had the hood on last time at York. I thought he ran a blinder, but he just sort of faded inside the final furlong. He did well from a wide drawn stall 13, but he just never got home. There looked like there was more to come. Frankie Dettori was quite easy on him that day. I mean, Frankie Dettori is easy on every horse every day, but he was particularly quite easy on him that day. Good with the time before, he was just drawn out of it. There was just no way he was ever going to be involved in stall 20 in the Celebration Mile, whichever it was. But he is a very, very promising horse. I mean, he looked like a group horse back at Ripon. He was so keen when he beat a horse called Time Quest. He was so keen. I thought that I was watching the race at the time, and I thought there's no way he's going to get home. And if he does, he must be a decent horse. I mean, he pulled the arms off Stefano Cerci for a long old way in that race. I mean, I'm talking up to the last 2 furlongs, and then he still had enough to find. I think coming back to a nice straight 7 furlongs could see him at his best. He's going to get a nice toe into the race. And stall 17 is a horse called Space Tracker, who likes to go from the front end. So I think he's just going to sit off his quarters. I think being prominent is where you're going to want to be against that rouse, where you're going to be. And I do think there's more to come from the 4-year-old. So while everyone's now written him off after 2 excusable runs, I think I'm going to give him a chance at double-figure price.
Lovely stuff. Nice price there, around 16-1. Andrew, what about yourself?
Yeah, same for me. Shining Blue. I put him up at York. First time hoods, a positive angle for Side Bin Savour. He wasn't particularly well drawn. He was up with the pace when it paid to come from off the back. I mean, I needed him for my place part. I cannot believe he wasn't in the first 4. He stopped the race a couple out, and given how well he's going, and then he just seems to whether it's the jockey or the horse throwing in the towel, and after he got hampered. But he was so impressive, particularly in that Leicester run first time out. As Daryl said, he didn't have a prayer from the car park draw in the Golden Mile at Goodwood, and I thought on the overall balance of Ascot form this year, stall 16 is going to be advantageous. I really wanted to tip Aratus, who my God, if you get awards for being unlucky, then he's nailed on for that this year, because since first time out he's needed the run, and he was given a shocker 3 runners at Leicester. Only Adam Kirby seemed to know that you can't win down the stand-side rail, so he's done a solo down there, got beaten 11.5 lengths. He's then gone to the Victoria Cup. He's finished 9th. He's drawn on the wrong side. You've got to be high. He's drawn low. He's then gone to the Royal Hunt Cup. He's not stayed the mile, and he's done well on the wrong side of the track again. Then last time out, he's finished 6th afresh in the International Stakes. And again, the first 5 down the centre, he's done best of the high draws down the stand side. So it just seems wherever you know where the best ground is at Ascot, it's where Aratus isn't drawn. So he's got stall 1 this time. So I think it's nailed on for high draws to come out best here this time, given the poor luckless soul. But I'll have to have a stake saver on. But I think he's between sort of 6-1 and 15-2. And given the doubts that stall 1 might not be any good, I don't think I can put him up at that sort of price. So I'm with Shining Blue too. I'll put up Ropey Guest for second. He's a horse who's got a habit of finishing second. I managed to cop the trifecta at Royal Ascot, just bankering on him to finish second in that race. I'll be doing the same sort of thing again. So some firms bet on horses to finish exactly second, but you're probably best off doing the field in an exacta to beat Ropey Guest.
Yeah, lovely. Love it when you get into the exotic bets, Andrew. I will put up very briefly documenting the old boy course and distance winner, won last time out. I think he will go well again. He likes it at Ascot, and I'll be having a half a point each way, perhaps at 16-1. And that takes us on very nicely to the big race of the day. It's the Sprint Cup, one of my favourite races of the year, probably just because I'm from that way, up at Haydock. So let's go to Daryl first of all.
Yeah, I've got 2. I'm having 2 stabs in this, and the reason is because I think there's a heck of a lot of pace in this race. Kinross and Rohaan are my 2 bets for this particular race. I just think there's plenty of pace on Brad the Brief, Art Power, Emma Artiana, Naval Crown, Castle Star, Flaming Rib. I just think there's a lot of horses that want to go forward. Go Bears Go is another, and I think this could be the time that it sets up for either Rohaan. I'll start with Rohaan. It could be the time it sets up for Rohaan. I would ignore his run in the City of York last time. He's been to York twice. He's disappointed twice. I would completely forgive him that. The time before in the Pre-Morris Geese over in Deauville, God, they went very slowly in the race that Highfield Princess won. They went very, very slowly that day. He was at the rear of the field. There were so many horses pulling for their head. And then he challenged what I feel was on the wrong side of the track, and he came steaming home again, as he does in his usual traits. But he's been crying out for a strongly run race. The last time I think he had a strongly run race was in the Wokingham, when he won off a massive weight. Since then, he's not raced in a contest that's had a very high top speed figure, or top speed figure over 100. I think he's been crying out for this. Returned with Holly Doyle. I think he's got a big chance. Kinross is the other one. He's a horse that arrives here in tremendous form. Yes, he's a 7 furlong horse, but if you go back to the Champion Stakes last year at Ascot and just watch that race closely, he got no run for a good half a furlong in that race. And then once he did finally get splits, he was just pushed out under hands and heels. And he was only a couple of lengths off Minzel in that particular race. Now, I've watched that race 100 times, and I'm pretty sure that if he gets the gaps, he probably would have won that race. I just think he's a horse coming in here in absolutely flying form. And if he does get a bit of rain on Saturday, just to take the sting out of the ground, I think it will really suit him. I could just see him travelling really strongly off a fast pace, and I can see him finishing best of all. He's got that quick, sharp turn of foot as well. So the 2 of those for me. I know I'm going on. I'll just give a quick mention to Art Power, because he has been unlucky. He ran a blind on seasonal return behind Kinross in the City of York. Last year in the Champion Stakes, he raced out on his own from stall 20. All the action developed over the far stand side, and he ran down the far side on his own. That's a couple of times he's been undone by the draw. He is going to get home sooner or later, but he is vulnerable to finish, and I just think a lot of pace on in this race just might find him out.
Lovely, very comprehensive, Daryl. And Kinross is actually a horse you've had a bit of success with recently, Andrew. Are you sticking with him in the Sprint Cup?
No, I bet him last time. Again, there's a lot of people who seem to think that he needs soft ground. He doesn't. He just seems to fall short of Group One level. So he needs sort of 7 furlongs ideally below Group One level. He's run well over 6, but I don't think winning a Group One over 6 on this sort of ground is going to be achievable. And again, if he was 25 to 1, 20 to 1, you'd take the chance. But 8 to 1, you think, I can leave him alone at that sort of price. Cardem ran a blinder in the Nunthorpe to finish 4th on the wrong side of the track when you had to be drawn high. Unfortunately, it's 6 furlongs, not 5 today. And, his best recent effort to come over the minimum trip. So you could still be half tempted with extra places at 25 to 1, but I'll leave him alone. I thought Great Ambassador might run some sort of race, the one who won the race on the wrong side in the Stewards Cup for the second year of running. But again, he probably falls short of this class. So I've come down on the side of 2, both big prices. One of them, Kulfum for Richard Fahey. He doesn't like York with his sprint record away from that track, 3 wins, a couple of thirds, and a duck egg in the Platinum Jubilee Stakes when he was drawn on the wrong side. We've seen plenty of horses who race down the centre from their low to middle draws, come out of that race and run well since. He goes well first, been off for 57 days. He's 50 to 1 or thereabouts, so he's worth a couple of quid with those extra places on offer. Drawn in stall 3, again, we're sort of guessing as to where you want to be. Haydock's so tricky because they use the inner track on Thursdays and Fridays when, generally speaking, you want to be drawn low. And then on the different track on Saturdays, it can switch to high draws. So, if low numbers are favoured on Thursday and Friday, it doesn't necessarily mean they will on Saturdays. It's all a bit confusing. And the other one is Harry 3 for Clive Cox. This one has taken a keen hold in some of his races, but he did tend to struggle when he was sort of faced with fields of 5 runners, 7 runners. Give him a field of 9 or more runners. He's won 5 times, finished placed on a couple of occasions, and you look at that last run, Deauville 6.5. He was 10th of 14. He wasn't beaten a million miles. He wasn't disgraced. I thought, given his breeding, these conditions are going to suit, and he's around about 16 to 1, I think. So Harry 3 over Kulfum for me, 16s and 50s.
Lovely. Plenty of big prices from Andrew. Once again, Daryl's stolen my script with Rohaan. It's a bit like Countdown. I'll have to show my working in a minute. I completely agree with everything you said, Daryl. I think get a little bit of that rain in as well. He should cope with that a little bit better than some of his rivals here. So yeah, Rohaan with a bit of strong pace to aim at should go well here for Holly Doyle, which takes us very neatly on to our final race of the day at Ascot. It's the Lavazza Stakes, the 345. It's over 1 mile and 4. Charlie Appleby's got a lot of runners here. Is he going to win, and who with, Daryl?
No, Charlie Appleby's not going to win. Sorry, I'm not going to fly in here again. William Haggis is going to win this with La Yakel. I think this is the best bet of the day. Handicap debut off a mark of 87. Adam Farah claims 5, effectively running off 82. If you go back and watch this horse's debut behind Secret State, who's rated 111, and Lassa Dude, who's rated around 90 something, 96, 92. Oh my God, he came from the rear of the field. He's the only horse to come from off the pace, and he steamed home in the style of a very, very good horse. Underhand and heels, not given a hard time at all. He then went to Windsor and he was beaten by Space Tracker, who's rated 96, runs in the handicap earlier on the card. But nothing really went right for him. He was hampered at the start. It was all a bit awkward. Once he got into the clear, he really came home quite strongly. He hit the line very, very hard. He was beaten at odds on that day. And then he's got just a novice at Southall last time. But once this horse gets going and gets the gears going and really hits full stride, my goodness me, he can fly. I'll tell you that much. He is completely unexposed. Handicap Davidson. I don't think there's too many in here that's ahead of their marks. I think he could be well ahead of his handicap mark. First ruler at the top of the market, for example, he beat the Tonian at Ascot last time, but he dictated a very slowly run race from the front from the rear of the field. I was on Sear Casper that day, and I was absolutely kicking myself because Jamie Spencer was delaying the challenge, and I was thinking, you've got to go. There's no pace in the race. Again, he looks handicapped to the hilt for me, I think, off a mark of 96. Fantastic as a horse that we got beat at Sandown in his penultimate start by Cosmic Desert. He's gone out and won a race at Newbury, but I'm not massively a fan of that form. I thought the biggest danger to him was going to be Blue Trail, who did remarkably well at Goodwood on the front end of the pace in a very strongly run race behind Warren Point. I think that's good form, that Goodwood race. But I just think this Yakel is well ahead of the handicap, well ahead.
Lovely stuff. Really like that. So Yakel, strong selection for Daryl. Looks a bit like a sort of made on World Cup night race, this with all the golfing horses, doesn't it? Andrew, how do you see it?
Yeah, this I think the winner's going to be wearing yellow or blue. That's probably a fair bet. But I'll throw a dart at Wild Crusade, the Godolphin ninth string. Probably one who's not ideally at home at York either, who's won his last 3 starts away from the Knavesmire. So maybe coming back to Ascot can see Wild Crusade go well. I think he's around about 14 to 1, but he's not even a quarter of a point; he's a tenth of a point win.
Oh, okay, so not as strong as Daryl's selection.
No, it's 5-star Naposaurus Rex.
Yeah, absolutely. Put that up.
I'll just get that in there for anyone who's playing GG Weekend Watch Bingo.
Yeah. Very good. Well, that takes us nicely to any other selections. Andrew, have you got anything else from anywhere else?
Hang on, let me just double check their running. I'll just look at the 405 at Haddock. Nomadic Empire, 405 at Haydock. Thought ran a good race against the bias in the first time advisor at York last time.
Lovely. Daryl, you're always good for some anywhere else sources. What have you got for us this week?
I've got loads. 405.
How long you got, Rob? How long you got?
Keep it going.
I'll be very quick. 405 at Haydock. I haven't seen no prices yet, but I'm looking at Corker and Alligator Alley. Corker was a huge eye catcher at Beverley last time. In the 514 at Haydock, Gifted Ruler drops in grade, unexposed at a mile. Big eye catcher at Chester last time from stall 13. 235 Courageous Knight should bolt up. He ran a Scorcher at York. In a 420 Crystal Caprice as well should bolt up. But I need to see prices for those to be confident or not, if you like.
Lovely stuff. Well, I'm sure you'll be able to catch some of those in Daryl's column over the weekend. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled on Friday and on Saturday. So that takes us to the naps. I'll go back to you, Daryl. What's your nap?
345 Ascot, Yakel.
Lovely stuff. Andrew?
I'm going for Dark Shift at Haydock, so certainly based on the current prices.
Lovely stuff. And I'll stick in Rohaan in the big one in the Sprint Cup for a Holly Doyle. That's everything for this week. As always, absolutely huge thanks to Andrew and Daryl for their amazing input. Thanks for watching. Best of luck with all of your tips this weekend, and we'll see you next week.